Hello there, and welcome to this very first cooking class for Christmas. We're doing the 12 days of Christmas cooking, some healthy, delicious, of course, gluten-free, dairy-free, and grain-free cooking for you guys coming up. Today, we're starting off with I wanted to ease my way into it today. Didn't want to do things too strenuous. So what we're actually doing today is a cookie that I created last Christmas, and it has already become a staple in our house. I mean, I have to say, I don't just eat this at Christmas time. It's one of those recipes for, firstly, it's a raw cookie dough. So you don't have to turn on the oven, which can be a little bit problematic, obviously, throughout the warmer periods. So you don't have to turn on the oven, which is really cool. But the other really good thing about it is it still tastes like Christmas. That's what we want, right? And the reason it tastes like Christmas, because we're going to be using lots and lots of spices. And as you guys know, every single spice that we use from our spice cupboard has a different set of nutrients. So we're talking about a nutrient-dense, raw cookie dough that tastes like Christmas. I mean, what more could you want? Now, the really cool thing about this as well is once you've made the cookie dough, kind of think of it almost like a protein ball, right? Or a bliss ball. So it's one of those really great little treats that you can keep in the fridge, also keeps in the freezer as well, which is nice and handy. You can freeze it for up to 3 months. But it also goes really, really well through one of my healthy ice cream recipes. So you can do cookie dough ice cream with this recipe as well. So it's got lots of uses, which is quite fantastic. And because it's raw, it's not very hard to do, which is wonderful. So the recipe is simple, because you guys know me now. You know I like to do things that are not too difficult, right? So I'm going to be working directly into my little food processor. It's going to make sure that it's working. It is. We're off to a good start. So I'm going to be working directly into this. And the best way to do this, actually, the easiest way is, because you can see I've got this little kind of mini benchtop food processor. Of course, you could use a big one as well, is I'm actually going to put it straight onto my scales. So when I'm measuring out the ingredients, I'm not having to measure it into separate little containers and put it in. I'm going to do this. So the scales go on, the little blender goes on the scales, and then I'm just going to push 0, which takes it right back down to 0 grams. So now I can really simply measure. And the measurements are, again, not very difficult to get right. So we're going to start off with, I've got my recipe in front of me, I need it a bit closer so I can see. We've got 60 grams, all right, easy. 2 ounces of, and I'm using almond flour. You can also use cassia flour is another great flour to use. You can use, what else have I seen? Almond meal, which is just the almond flour that hasn't had the skins removed, so it's got a little some dark flecks through it. You could use that. If you want to go nut-free, you could also use sunflower seed flour as well. Up to you, but I quite like the flavor of almond because it's quite mild. Cassia is the same. Cassia flour is the same. And good news, I have seen, I don't know if it's still there, but on my last trip to Costco, for anyone who is a member of Costco, I actually saw bags of cassia flour in Costco. They had hazelnut meal as well, so different types of nut flours, which was super exciting. I mean, I get excited by that sort of stuff, don't you? I do, honestly, I do. All right, almond flour is in there, 2 ounces or 60 grams. Our next one, here we go. So what I actually have in here, this is really cool stuff. This is green banana flour. Now, this one's a little bit harder to find. I have to be completely frank with you guys, a little bit harder to find. So I actually found my green banana flour. I found it online, and if you can find it and you can use it, amazing. If not, you could use like a buckwheat flour or another type of gluten-free flour. My gluten-free flour blend would be a great one to use, by the way, if you can find it. So got my green banana flour here. The reason why I like green banana flour is because green bananas are what is known as a prebiotic resistant starch. So basically, it's going to feed your healthy gut bacteria because it resists being digested in the stomach. And it goes right through to where all your probiotics live in your large intestine or your colon, and feeds them in there. So there's less of a glucose spike because it's resisting the first initial stages of digestion, which is really important. So green banana flour adds a bit of sweetness to it, kind of tastes a little bit like ladyfinger bananas. That's what it reminds me of, and it's that little bit better for us because it's a prebiotic resistant starch, which is really cool. So into here, we're going to be putting in, I'm just going to go back down to 0 so it's easy to measure. And what have I got there? 70 grams of our green banana flour, our prebiotic resistant starch, and it's going to give it a bit of a sweetness, which is cool. So what you'll notice in this, I'm not adding any other sweetness apart from this green banana flour. So 70 grams goes in there, and now we have a prebiotic. And now we have cookie dough that is resistant starch. Cool, huh? Super cool. All right, what's up next? My favorite stuff. So, if you were to visit my home, and I hope one day I get the opportunity to cook for you, you will see that I have a really big spice cupboard. It was a shelf, now it's a cupboard, and there's 1, 2, 3 levels. Every spice that I can possibly fit in there, I can. In fact, I might need to put another cupboard on lockdown because I'm running out of space. Love spices, love the goodness that it brings to us, love the flavors, of course, that it brings as well. And as I was saying earlier, every spice has its own nutrient quality. Everything is different, whether you're using turmeric, whether you're using cardamom, whether you're using thyme, whether you're using marjoram, whether you're using cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger. Everything has its own special nutrient quality. So you're not just getting flavor when you add spices, you're getting different types of nutrients which are going to go in and feed different species that live in your gut. So don't be afraid of spices. Don't be afraid of experimenting with different flavors. Of course, the combination that I'm using today is pretty much Christmas. This is what makes these cookies Christmas, is these combination of spices that I have in front of me. So we're going to start off with probably the most obvious one, and that is going to be our cinnamon. So cinnamon, we're going to be adding in quite a lot, but it doesn't matter because cinnamon helps to bring down blood sugar. That's one of the real good benefits of it. I'm going to be putting in 3 teaspoons, and make sure they're level. So I'm making sure it's a level teaspoon. So 3 teaspoons of our cinnamon powder. Little hint when it comes to spices, don't buy big quantities unless you use them really fast, because spices do have a shelf life. And ideally, you're using them within 3 to 6 months of opening the packet that you have. So all my spices I like to turn over as regularly as possible. The only time I buy big quantities is if I know that I'm going to be using it a lot. And cinnamon is one of them because of that ability to naturally help to lower our blood sugar. You should be having cinnamon on something every day. In fact, I make a little cinnamon sugar using our 0 sugar and cinnamon, and that gets sprinkled onto everything, including sometimes I put it in my coffee. Very delicious. Very nice. All right, so cinnamon is in there. We're also going to add some nutmeg. You can freshly grate the nutmeg, which is even better. And we're just going to be putting in a dash of this one because this one's got, it can be a little bit strong if you put too much. So we're just putting in 1/4 teaspoon of our nutmeg, as well as some ginger. How much ginger? 3 teaspoons. Oh, ginger's good, right? What's ginger? It's ginger dough cookie dough. Is that what it's called? No, ginger dough. Yeah. Ginger dough cookie dough, the official name of this recipe. So 3 teaspoons of the ginger goes in, ground ginger. Oh, love ginger, love it, love it, love it. Love to drink it, as in ginger ale, which I make. Love to make pickled ginger, like the ones that you'd find on your sushi. I make my own pickled ginger. I use ginger in all my cooking, fresh ginger, and of course now we've got this wonderful ginger powder going into our lovely little dough. So the last one we've got here is ground cloves. Again, go gently with the cloves. They can be almost have a numbing effect. That's why cloves is regularly used as almost like a numbing agent if you've got a sore tooth. You can actually bite on a whole clove. So go carefully with this, but cloves, like ginger, are antibacterial, antifungal as well. Another really good thing about cloves. And the very last spice that I'm going to be using is I've just got actually, and it's nearly all gone. I'm very sad. I'm going to have to buy some more. And this is vanilla powder. If you don't have vanilla powder, you can use vanilla essence. And again, we're just going to go in there with about 1/4 teaspoon of our vanilla powder or our vanilla essence. If you are using vanilla liquid, just make sure it's pure. You don't want any of that garbage, like flavor of vanilla. Like that's not vanilla, right? That's just sugar and crap and yucky stuff that we don't want. So just make sure if you are using a vanilla liquid, it is a pure extract if you can find that. All right, so now that we've got all that in, I'm going to add one more little thing, and that is just a little pinch of mineral salt. Why do we add salt? Because it's like the pinch, what does that do? Well, the salt's just going to help your palate to detect the flavors. So it just makes it feel a little bit more rounded. And you don't need a lot of sodium to get that effect. So I'm just putting in just this really small amount. But of course, now it's just powders. I will give it just a quick little blend. How does it come together? Good question. So in here, I have some whole dates that I've had soaking in a bit of hot water for about 10 minutes just to soften them up. Now, the dates that I'm using are medjool, so they're nice quality dates. And there is 220 grams of dates in here, which is just under 8 ounces of dates. And you soak them in just hot water. I just boiled the jug sort of halfway. And because you don't want them to be too soft. And of course, they need to be pitted. You don't want any pits in there. And then you're just going to whack those in, obviously draining them well. You don't want to get any liquid in there. Draining them well and straight into the processor, giving them a bit of a squeeze if you need to as well. But picking the best quality dates that your budget will allow is good here. Now, of course, the dates are going to give it some sweetness. That's why we're not adding any of our zero sugar to this. It's going to give it some sweetness. But they're also going to help to bring this dough together, which is the important part. So dates go in. I'm going to take it off my scales now. Don't need that anymore. And then we're going to blend. Now, this part, kind of pulse it. Do you see what I'm doing? That's called a pulse, right? This is a blend. This is a pulse. Kind of on a pulse. And you can see it's kind of already coming together. Which is great. But how do we know that it's coming together? So what you can do, and I like to actually do this with gloves, I have to tell you, just saves on the mess. And make sure that because I'm touching this dough, this raw dough with my hands, I don't want to contaminate it. So I do like to use gloves for this part. So what you do is you pick up a little bit of that dough, just a little bit. And if you can squeeze it and it holds itself together like that, you are ready to go. It's that easy. I know. How cool is that? And that was just a bit of a pulse. And already I've got like a little mini protein ball if I wanted it. Now, as I'm doing this, and I'm like, can I roll it? Because that's kind of what we want to do, right? We want to be able to roll it. Can I roll it? Yeah. I might just add just a tablespoon of the liquid from the soaking dates. I'm going to add that in there. Okay, a tablespoon and a half of that liquid's going to go in. Another little pulse. I don't want any fear that it's going to crumble on me. So depending on how dry or how moist your date's in, you might actually find that you don't need to add any of the, the stuff that I added into it, the water. You could be absolutely fine. All right, let's have another little look. It feels a lot better, even with that 1.5 tablespoons. Look at that. Oh yeah. So now I'm not got any, now I don't have, thank you, better English. Now I don't have any risk of it crumbling. Like already I've made almost like, just by playing around, I've made like a little cookie coin out of that, right? Just like that. So that is kind of cool. I like that. I do like that. All right. So we're going to take that and put that over there. Don't need that anymore. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can actually make the dough. Of course, you can use cookie cutters, which I left somewhere. Where did I leave them? I don't know what I did with the cookie cutter. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. See, you can do whatever you want with it. You could use absolutely cookie cutters. And what you would do is you would take this dough out of the little machine like I'm doing here and create just a big ball of dough. Then you would roll it out, with a little rolling pin, and you would be able to make your own really cool little cuts, designs, whatever you want. You could use gingerbread men. In fact, I had a star somewhere. Do you want to wait there? I'm going to go grab it. We got to do this. Wait there. I left it over there. Of course I did. All right, so make yourself up a little ball, just like that. Decide what sort of shapes you want to use. A little trick for you guys when you are doing this is if you want to have a real ease of rolling, then what you can do is take a bit of non-stick baking paper, put that sheet down like that, and then I like to start with sort of half at a time. Put your second sheet over top of it, and then you can start to roll it out. So where is my rolling pin? Here it is. Right, and then we can just start to roll it out, just like that. And what you're then able to do with this, obviously baking paper, you don't have to throw the baking paper. You can absolutely reuse it for something else. But it just makes your life so much easier than trying to do this on a bench. Firstly, it's cleaner. And who doesn't want to be a little bit tidier at Christmas time? I know I do. Goodness me. But it makes it really, really easy to roll out. Nothing sticking, as you can see, to the rolling pin, which is important. And then I just remove the top just like that. And we have our sheet of cookie dough. So it makes it nice and easy just to go along with whatever shapes that you want to use. Of course, you can just cut it if you wanted to. You can roll it into balls. But what you then have is this very, very cool, look at that, little piece of cookie dough. Look, I like to keep my cookies quite thin, quite flat, because there's a lot of flavors going on in here because of all those spices we're using. So I find that a little goes a long way. And in fact, this particular recipe that I've given you guys, you can make, sort of anything from 20 to 40 little cookie dough biscuits. And they make really good gifts, by the way, too. They actually make wonderful gifts because they don't need refrigerating. You can keep them in the fridge because they last heaps longer, but you can wrap them up and you put them into like a beautiful little box, with some tissue paper and a ribbon, and you can give it away for Christmas as a little gift for the homemaker if you're visiting someone's house. And what you are literally giving them is a taste and a flavor of Christmas, and it only takes you a couple minutes to throw everything together. So hoping you're enjoying this. Don't forget, my favorite way to have this is actually, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just, this is what I do. And then I have it sitting in the fridge as a little treat. So it's almost like a little cookie dough ball. I like to do that as well as, that. But the other cool thing you can do, of course, is to break it up into one of my homemade ice cream recipes. And as it goes into the freezer, the little ice cream to set, you've got the little flecks of cookie dough through there, Christmas cookie dough. It is amazing. I hope you've enjoyed this quick little class. Come back again for day 2 of our 12 cooking class days till Christmas. Have a fabulous, fabulous day wherever you are in the world. Be well and be safe, and we'll see you guys all soon. Take care.